and it's been a great start. But over the next few hours, we're going to be going across every time zone on the planet, and we've got some amazing guests lined up. Along the way, we'll be raising some money for two great charities here in the UK. That's CF Warriors, which is a charity associated with cystic fibrosis, and the Stroke Association. And Kate Holmes and the team in the US will be raising money for Quad A, the Association of African American Financial Advisors, and Colour of Change for Black Lives Matter. We will have more all about that later on the show. But Joe, you're joining me today. What do we have coming up?
We have a jam-packed show today. So we have an interview with financial planner Leticia Camargo from Brazil. And Tomo is back. That's yourself, Tomo, with another money-saving tip. And we have a podcasting focus with Amyr Rocha-Lima. But first, we have the news with New Model Advisor. And on this show, it is brought to us by Jack Gilbert. Jack, what have you got?
Thanks, Joe. So the 11:30 news slot from NMA. First up, we've got a story from our sister title, actually, Citywide Wealth Manager. They've just published a scoop on national advice firm and wealth manager Sanlam. So basically, the stories revealed that Sanlam's closed 3 of its offices in Bath, Kirkby Lonsdale, and somewhere in Wales, which I can't pronounce, as well as initiating pay freezes, and it's also furloughed 30 staff who've been now brought back into the workplace after being furloughed for 2 months. So what the story shows is that Sanlam's kind of been hit pretty hard by COVID-19, but it's a wealth manager that's previously had quite a lot of struggles, as I'm sure some of you might be aware. We wrote a story last year that about 11 of their senior staff had left up until the kind of August period last year. Different reasons for people leaving. I think there was been a bit of a culture clash. It's run by Jonathan Pollan, quite a big name in the industry, who I think he was the one who kind of led the turnaround of Ashcourt Rowan back in the day. I think he's initiated quite a strong growth agenda, which I think perhaps has gone down badly in some of the advice and wealth management offices up and down the country there. What's kind of interesting about this story as well is that Jonathan Pollan's comments kind of basically suggesting that they didn't feel the need to have regional rural offices anymore, which is possibly a trend that's been accelerated by coronavirus, and is something that I'm sure we're probably going to see more of, kind of big national wealth management firms closing down smaller offices up and down the country, feeling that they're not really, they're kind of surplus to requirements and moving to more national regional hubs. Be interesting to see how that kind of plays out amongst the IFAs as well, and how the office space of financial advisors and wealth managers looks once lockdown is lifted. And then just to kind of following up on Laura's big news she got in the last slot about the new chief executive of the FCA. So she timed quite well just before she was going on air. Nikhil Ratti, we've got a bit more about his bio and about his kind of previous work has come about. So he was at the Treasury during the financial crisis, in charge of the Financial Stability Unit. So very much an appointment by the Chancellor of someone who is kind of had previous experience of managing financial crashes, has kind of got experience in this area. And that's certainly probably part of the reason for getting him in the role. And also an interesting spot by Charles was that he was previously private secretary to Tony Blair and Gordon Brown in the 2000s. So very kind of new Labour, quite experienced kind of politician in politics, certainly. And yeah, that's pretty much the news we've got there, Joe.
Thanks, Jack. So 2 actually pretty big news stories there.
Yeah, I mean the FCA.
11:30.
No, I know FCA has timed it pretty well for the last slot, so it's worked out quite well for us.
Excellent. So next up, we have Tomo's tight ass tip of the day. Tomo, what's your tip for us today?
Well, those of you tuned in at 9:30 UK time will know I'm going to try my best to make these tips not so UK focused that they can be used by our international friends. But this one is very much I'm doing my bit for the UK tourism board here. Okay. So when lockdown is over and we're all able to travel around the world and see each other again and enjoy all these wonderful cultures that they're there to be enjoyed. When you come to the UK, I want you to know about something. And for me, it came about, and some of the UK, my UK friends will know this already, is I try and encourage people to have a partner or marry someone with small feet. Okay? Why? Well, over here in the UK, children's clothing, you don't pay any sales tax on. So we call it VAT, or value added tax. That's tax that's added to items that you buy. And it's about 20% here in the UK. Well, if you buy children's clothing, they don't charge that. Well, that's all well and good, but a lot of ladies' feet are actually smaller than what is deemed adults' sizes. So you could perhaps come over here. Was 5.5 is the size over here. I'm not sure how that relates to the rest of the world, but you could probably, if you've got fairly small feet, come over here and buy cheaper trainers or cheaper shoes without the need to pay sales tax. And that's what I did for my darling wife, because I was feeling super generous and definitely guided her in that direction. So happens that there was a really nice pair of trainers that were okay, that she could just about squeeze into, and was encouraged that she looked wonderful in them. But yeah, there you go. If you come over here, bear that in mind. And also, if you bring children over here, you could buy some slightly cheaper clothing than if you were an adult. So there you go. I'm trying to do my bit for the UK tourism board.
That tip always makes me giggle, but it makes financial sense.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, it really is a true story. Genuinely.
Thanks, Tomo. So next up, we've got Amyr, who is going to chat with financial planner Leticia Camargo. Amyr, over to you.
Thank you very much, Joe. Hola, Leticia, ¿cómo va?
Hola.
There we go. So, Leticia, we'll do this in English for the benefit of our global commute, of course, but it would have been nice for me to practice my Portuguese. Leticia, you have over 20 years of professional experience in financial institutions. Could you tell us a little bit about your journey as a financial planner, and also a little bit about financial planning in Brazil?
Yeah, I got my graduation, economics graduation degree in 1994. It's been more than 20 years working in the financial market at banks, brokers, and a family office. But when it was 2011, I was looking for a purpose for my professional career. Then I got my CFP certification. Since then, I've been working home office. I was a visionary since 1911 and independently. And I've been taking care of more than 150 families.
Fantastic.
Regarding the financial planning in Brazil, it's a very small business here. We are about 5,000 CFP professionals. And when I got my certification, we were only 700. Wow. So it grew a lot, but we have a lot to do yet. And at those years, we didn't have so many YouTubers talking about finance in the internet. Our interest rate was 2-digit, about 11%, and we have only 600,000 people here in Brazil investing in the stock market. Now we have 2.5 million Brazilians investing in the stock market. We have lots of YouTubers talking about finances in the internet, and our interest rate is 2.25% a year. So the things have changed a lot, and we financial planners has lots to do with the helping people.
That's fantastic. Leticia, let me just put that into context to some folks here, right? So Brazil has 260 million people. So when Leticia is talking about 5,000 CFPs, the number 5,000 might sound like a big number, but for the Brazilian population, it's actually not enough to service all Brazilian people that would like to get advice. And secondly, think about what Leticia just said, 2 million equity investors in a country of 250 million people. So that just shows the grass is very green for you guys to be able to disseminate financial planning around the country yet. Let me pull on a thread there, Leticia, that I take a personal interest in. You studied, I think you said, the economic psychology. So how is it that you...
behavioral finance.
Yeah, behavioral finance, exactly. So
Yeah.
how is it that you think about people's psychological aspects when it comes to their money?
Yeah, because when I graduated, we learned that all humans are rational, and they try to maximize their returns on their decision making, but we know that's not true. We are affected by our behavior, our habits, biases, and ability to have the self-control. So behavioral finance can teach us a lot to help our clients. Sometimes it's difficult for us financial planners to understand how people can spend more than they earn. How can they deal, how can manage deal with their money? So behavioral finance help us to understand this and has a lot to teach us how to help our clients.
Yeah, amazing. Let me ask you this, Leticia. When you meet a client for the first time, what are you aiming to achieve in that initial meeting?
Yeah, in the first meeting, I want to understand how these people deal with their money. What are the goals, financial goals for short and long term, and if they are savers or if they are in debt. First of all, I want to help them to create their cash flow, to understand how they spend their money and try to spend that important things for them. It's the beginning of the planning is like this.
That's fantastic. That's really great. When you think about financial planning in Brazil, Leticia, what are your hopes for the development of the profession over there?
Yeah, I said that it's very a small business here in Brazil. We are beginning with this. Planejar, that's the association of financial planners here, has has 20 years here in Brazil, but we are beginning with this profession here. And I think that it's important that I understand, the people can understand the peace of mind that financial security can bring. So the first thing I want to know is people's financial goals and what can they do to spend their money and try to retire without concerns and achieve their financial goals.
That's fascinating. And it's so interesting that even though the market seems to be more developed here from the point of view of the percentage of the population that are equity investors, some of which might even not realize they're equity investors via their workplace pensions, etc. But we still have very similar issues, which is making sure the population at large understand what financial planning even is, let alone how they would go about seeking it versus, for example, just product sales. So that's really interesting, Leticia, and I appreciate you painting that picture for us. How about you? What next for you and your career? What plans do you have? You, of course, are quite nicely set up for working from home, as you mentioned. You've had your home office running successfully since 2011, I think you mentioned.
Yeah.
But when you look forward, what next for Leticia Camargo?
Yeah, I plan to continue helping my clients, giving them financial education classes, and perhaps write a book aiming to help more people to understand the importance of financial education.
That's really great. Leticia, for folks that are tuning in, obviously that we've got folks tuning in from all over the world, where can people go to find out more about you and your business?
Yeah, I'm at the internet, leticiacamargo.com.br, LETICIA CAMARGO.com.br. at the internet, and the same as in the Instagram. You can find me there.
That's brilliant, Leticia. I really appreciate your time, Leticia. Any parting thoughts that you want to leave with our audience about either your thoughts on financial planning globally or in Brazil?
Yeah, I think that financial planning can transform lives. I think that's really powerful, and I think you're speaking to an audience here that absolutely lives and breathes that. Leticia, I really appreciate you taking time. I know it's fairly early in Brazil. Hopefully you've had your cafezinho already. Yeah.
It's been a blast speaking with you, even though for a short period of time, and I'm sure we'll be able to pick up this conversation outside of this conference as well. Leticia, thank you very much indeed. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for the invitation.
No
Bye.
worries. Joe, I think we're back to you.
Thanks, Amyr, and thanks, Leticia. That was super interesting. Nice to see that there are so many similarities as well as differences, financial planning, you know, all the way over in Brazil. So it is now time to check in with our challenge heroes. And so first we have James Mousley on his epic running and tire flipping challenge. Gretchen has been working through her extreme crafting challenge, and our Minecrafters, I believe, have started to build a virtual conference venue. So shall we see how everyone is doing? Who's up first? Let's see. James, are you there? Or is it Alistair? Alistair.
Hello.
How's the conference building?
Well, no one's
going?
died yet, which is good. Unfortunately, I have an arrow sticking out of my side. I'm not sure if that's visible on screen, and I have been poisoned. So you know, challenges. I mean, I don't want to minimise James's efforts, you know, but I don't think he's really facing half the challenge we are. Yeah, his is very physical, but so's ours. Yeah, we've got the start of a venue. This is going to be the rows of seats. Don't worry, you're not going to be sitting on grass blocks. We're going to improve that. But we've got the scale sorted. We're going to have the stage here at the end for our conference speakers. Just picture it now if you can. Next time you come and see us, it'll hopefully look slightly different. We were plagued with technical difficulties early on, so we're a bit late starting, but you know, we're getting there.
I mean, the scale of that looks impressive.
Yeah.
What a start to a Monday morning, an arrow on the side.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see, who else can we update? Let's see. Is James around? Gretchen, how's the crafting going?
It's good. Yeah, so the last time they checked in, I was working on this kind of flower hanging.
Wow.
It was a bit more challenging than I thought, because this invisible thread keeps getting caught together, so I've been tangled several times. I'm going to take a picture outside because I think you can't really see it very well in here, so I'll take it outside and take a picture, but it's on a hanging dowel, so it should be fine to hang it somewhere in the garden. And then my next thing is I've been doing this. Using a very cool pen, which is not a marker pen, it's like acrylic paint pen. So this is for my laundry room. So I thought that might be quite fun to have on the wall. So I'm going to finish this. And yeah, so take some pictures. I'll think that was number 3 and that's number 4. So I'll probably tweet them all at the same time. I've done 1 and 2 already. So.
Fab. And are you enjoying it?
I am, although I guess like some I might have misjudged like how long it could take. So I was a little bit panicking at the end of the last hour when everything's getting tangled up. But yeah, it's fun. It's good, and it's nice to like be here to hear all of the speakers. Like, you know, otherwise I wouldn't be doing that regularly, would I? So I think that I'll have the advantage of hearing everyone today.
Yeah, and it's got to be a challenge, right? Because we're raising money for great charities.
Yeah, exactly. So it's got to be, yeah. The room says the temperature thing in here says it's 26 degrees. So I don't think it's quite 26, but it's definitely hot in my garden art studio. So quite interesting.
Fab. So Who have we got next? See, James Mansley is coming up as a name on my screen, but not quite sure how he's doing with his fitness challenge.
Is he out for one of his breaks, which, if anyone's not tuned in yet, he's basically flipping tyres for a day, and his break consists of going out for half-hour runs. I mean, that sounds like utter hell, but good on him. So maybe he's out on one of those, or maybe he's trying to refuel.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. He must be out on one of his runs. Good on him. I mean, it's a mammoth of a task, isn't it?
Yeah, do you know what? It makes this presenting look really easy, doesn't it?
It really does.
This was orange, but where's our challenge? You're just going to sit in a chair and talk for a little bit.
Well, on that note, a massive thank you to our charity challenges. We are obviously massively grateful for the support that people have shown so far, and we are looking to raise as much as we can for the Stroke Association and CF Warriors. So if you can, please click on the link that we've put in the chat to donate. Tomo, what have we got next?
Well, we got the main man back himself. Amyr, how's it going, buddy?
All good, thanks, Tomo. How are you?
Yeah, not bad, thanks, not bad. Now we're going to talk about a subject close to our hearts.
Yes.
And that is podcasting.
Oh,
and
I thought it was football. Sorry.
Oh, God. Oh, no, I can't say my dislike for, oh, God, I've done it. Yeah, football. Football what? Yeah. Rugby, cricket. That's the sport. I'm getting it around the world. Rugby and cricket. Forget
That's
football,
the mission.
5 stars. We're gonna talk about podcasting, and in particular, how you've managed to do some niche podcasting to get a particular message to clients. But I thought it'd be interesting to know what prompted you to, set up the podcast that you do, which far away, tell everybody what it is.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Tomo. So I set up the Inside Kingston podcast about a year ago now. So we've just published interview 41, I believe. So I've pretty much been able to do a weekly schedule, bar a few weeks away for holidays and things like that. And the goal originally was basically, how do I even talk to the business community in an area where I've just arrived, I've joined the financial planning firm, and I've got no one to call on? So what's the approach, right? So either I do what I've done in the past when I worked in sort of product provider land, which is literally pick up the phone and cold call local businesses to tell them about me and my firm, and also get to know about them and their firm. Or I could sort of translate that cold calling, so to speak, into what was 2019 or today in 2020. And instead I decided to do that. So I have this notion in my mind that people don't get a chance to tell their story. Nobody asks anybody about their story. Everybody's interested about speaking about themselves. And I just have a deep belief in this. And I think all of us here on this call today who are engaged in actually doing financial planning know that that is true. That when we get to ask our clients open-ended questions about their dreams, their aspirations, and what they'd like their money to do, they really find a venue to be able to finally speak what has been inside them for maybe a lifetime. So what I wanted to do was to create a podcast, which would be just a platform for local businesses, entrepreneurs, and community leaders to be able to tell their story. That's it. And I just wanted to spread that across my neighborhood. So it literally is focused on Kingston upon Thames. That is it. And it's highlighting these folks and trying to strengthen the business community by doing that. So we've had everybody in from the director and CEO of the local theatre, which is one of London's busiest theatres, all the way down to a one-man band HR outsourcing person who literally does HR gigs, so to speak, or on a gig basis, sorts out HR problems at other smaller firms, and everybody in between. And our goal is to go from the local council down to the big person company, down to the small person company, and just be able to really showcase the talent, the expertise, and the professionalism that we have in Kingston. And hopefully, which is what we've seen so far, get some of these folks to talk to each other as well. And those have been some of the success stories so far in the podcast. And I'm actually glad to say that there are actually some interviews where folks have highlighted the fact that they found out about somebody else through the podcast, and they thought, that's exactly the sort of person I think I need. And for me, that's just great, keeping business inside our local community. So a bit of a long-winded answer, Tommy, but that's the vision for it as it started out. And just to sort of finalize the answer there on that point, that's exactly what it's done. It's meant that I have had a way of talking to people in the business community in my area, which is a novel way. And it's a way that is not just cold calling and trying to meet up for endless coffees to see if there is even any mutual interest between us.
I love that. You could be as long-winded as you like. I don't have to ask any questions now. Everything that I wanted to ask you has just been rattled off is always the way with you, Amyr, a very passionate response.
Not at all. And look, we're standing on the shoulders of giants like yourself and like other folks who have, albeit not localized financial planning or podcasts for that matter, like the one I run, but you yourself, Tomo, run a podcast. You know how hard it is to get it out on a weekly schedule. You know how hard it is to get the editing, to get the storytelling right. So all of that stuff is detail, right? That's the beauty of the work. But the message itself, as with yours on the well-being side of things, the message for us is business inside Kingston upon Thames, and just highlighting the amazing stories we've got inside our community.
Yeah, I got to say at this point, a lot of the storytelling is done by my colleague Chris Budd. I just rock up, make sure he doesn't sort of make a prat out of all of us, and I do the same and edit out the bits that I don't like I've said. So no, you're right. It's if we found it's just a topic we're particularly passionate about, and that's financial well-being. And I think we started doing it 4 years ago now.
Wow.
And we sort of went with it. It just started. And that would be certainly what I would recommend to people. Just put yourself out there. You know, if you've got a topic that you want to talk about, it's very easy to be passionate about it and talk with some knowledge when you're really interested in it. And it's great fun. And we have a great time recording it. But I guess if people are thinking of doing one, you know, where should they start, do you think?
Okay, so it's you need to start with an idea, but I'm very much of the same mindset as you, Tom. Minimal viable product, right? I've seen people, and because they've contacted me, right, to now that I've got this podcast and it's been going on for a while, they've been contacting me to say, okay, what is it that I can do and how can I do this? And they come in with like 10 minutes worth of talk around kit and 10 minutes worth of talk around editing software, and I let them vent, but then I say, that's unimportant. I mean, it really is unimportant. I mean, I do a podcast with this mic that you're seeing on me here. That's it. Now, okay, you might argue, Tom, hey, Amyr, you could up the audio quality by buying a headset. Yeah, I know. And eventually I will. But for now, it's as a minimal viable product, it works and it does what we want it to do. So, you know, my guests aren't expecting Jay Leno-like quality, neither from the interviewer nor from the audio. So for now, it's good. And I've got other projects going on that are also working on a minimal viable product basis too. So to answer your question, start with the idea. Is it a local podcast similar to the Inside Kingston podcast? Great. Well, contact guys like me and other people who are doing these sort of podcasts. Try to find folks outside of our industry, inside wrestling, inside baseball, inside something else, and just see what they're all about. It's that, if that's not the idea, if it's financial well-being or like a topic that you're interested in, contact Tomo or contact somebody within that topic that is doing something maybe in Australia, South Africa, Brazil, and just see what you can learn from that to translate it into what you want to do over here. But the bottom line is what you said, Tomo, be passionate about it, right? As a firm, we're passionate about being local. As a person in the community, I'm passionate about highlighting the stories of the businesses in our community. So for me, that's not a job. I love doing these interviews. I love talking to people. I love getting those gems out of their story that perhaps they just haven't had a chance to tell people before. So that's what I run with. And with you, it's pretty clear that that is the case with well-being, financial well-being in particular. And I'm sure as hard as it can be on a bad day, it's still not work. It's you putting something out there that you're genuinely interested and genuinely passionate about.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't feel like that when we're doing our recordings, it's fun. And that's what it should be, really. It's like doing this. This is fun. Just one question I've got for you when you do your podcast. Are you scripted?
No, so I don't script it. If folks that are listening to us today here listen to my podcast, they'll notice within sort of 3 or 4 episodes that they pick up on that there's a pattern. I start the podcast in a certain way and I end it in a certain way. And I do that because I want myself and my listeners to know where we are with the story. The middle bit, I just do some research on that person or that entity, that organization online, and I write down some milestone questions or milestone points that I want to cover. And you'll notice as well that I don't really phrase questions brilliantly. It's more about doing something as you've just done there, Tomo, saying scripts. Is yours scripted? Shut up and listen. And then you can find the next milestone. I don't know, a 24-hour commute challenge. What's that all about? Shut up and listen. So I take that approach, and that's basically because I'm not a trained interviewer. I'm not a trained journalist. So I just need to do what I think is logical and I think will get the story out of people.
I think the fact you're not a trained journalist might be in your favor. I think if more journalists just asked a simple question and that the respondent dig their own hole, especially in political terms, they might get more out of it. Look, Amyr, thank you so much. That's really helpful. And I know you're open for anyone who's interested in setting up a podcast, have a chat with them. Same here. It is far simpler than one might think, and a way to get your own message out to the world. So thanks for that.
Appreciate it.
Joe?
Thanks for that. That was really great. So our next show is on in half an hour's time at 12:30 UK time, and we are staying in Brazil with a specially extended show where we will hear more from Amyr about growing up in Brazil with Andre Novaes, a founder and CEO of Life FP. Chris Budd is also back with another financial wellbeing tip, and we will be joined by Catherine Morgan with Coaching Focus. Tomo and I will both be back over the next 24 hours. I think the next one is at midnight. So we will see you later. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.